So today I wanted to make a quick little video about how to take NMN. People have been asking, so I thought I would just make a video. We're going to cover 4 categories. That is how to store it, how much to take, when to take it, and how to take it. So let's start with how to store it. So it used to be recommended, it used to be required that you keep NMN in the refrigerator. But now NMN is being produced in much more stable form, so it's no longer required to keep it in the refrigerator. Just keep it in a cool, dry place. Keep it out of the sun or a really bright, extended, exposure to bright light. Keep it away from sources of heat like the heater or your stove, and you should be good to go. Perfect place would be like in a pantry somewhere, something like that. Even though it's not required, recently I've decided to actually keep mine in the refrigerator. I live in Arizona, it gets really hot here, and even though our home is air conditioned, sometimes it gets pretty warm in our home. But more than that, for me, it's just added little assurance. Even though it's not required, it just gives me a little bit of peace of mind. I buy it 6 months at a time, so I feel like that's just one little thing that I could do to ensure that it's preserved as long as possible. Once again, I'm not saying that you have to do that. It's just what I do. So now let's talk about how much to take. A lot of people ask this question, and so let me just say that in general, it's recommended, generally recommended, and most people take somewhere between 500 milligrams and 1 gram per day. Now, to give you a frame of reference, 1 gram is actually considered a pretty high dose. So with this in mind, if you are a larger person, you may want to be on the upper end of that scale. If you're a smaller person, you may want to be on the lower end of that scale. Now, I will say some people start with 250 milligrams, but generally, you want to work up to at least 500 milligrams per day. For example, the little scooper that comes with the Do Not Age NMN, which is where I get mine, that little scooper is actually 500 milligrams. So you can take one of those, or you take 2 of those to get 1 gram per day. Now, I personally, I do 1 gram per day. I started there because that's what David Sinclair does. He is a little bit shorter than me, weighs pretty close, we're about the same weight, and so I've been taking 1 gram per day. Now, I have a friend who is much taller than me and weighs more than me. He takes 1.5 grams per day. That's what he's comfortable with, and that's what he likes to do, and it works for him. So hopefully that helps. You gotta find yourself somewhere in that range, so 500 milligrams to 1 gram per day. All right, so let's talk about when to take it. So with NMN, it's important to sort of time it with your natural circadian rhythms. It can cause you to be sort of very wakeful, especially in the beginning. When you first start taking it, one of the effects might be that you have a lot of energy and you're very awake. That's what happened to me. And so generally it's often recommended that you take it when you're waking up or when you're supposed to be awake. It's not a good idea generally to take it in the evening, take it at night, because it could disrupt your sleep. For example, Dr. David Sinclair talks about using it as a way to help with jet lag. So traveling, come home, you're all kind of out of whack and you're tired. To try to get back on track, your normal time zone, NMN can help with that if you take it when you're supposed to be awake. Now, of course, that said, if you work nights, then you're going to take it at night when you wake up and get ready for your day, even if that day is happening at night, right? Now, that said, someone just recently told me that taking NMN was making them tired in the very beginning, had the opposite effect of being awake. It just made them really sluggish. In that case, you may start with taking it at night until that goes away. Okay, so let's talk about how to take it. Now, some people have confused NMN with something like resveratrol or some other sirtuin activator or senolytics, which often should be taken along with fat, like yogurt or olive oil, or sprinkle it on your eggs, or take it with an avocado or something like that. NMN is not that way. With NMN, all you really need to do is put it in some water and drink it down. Very simple. So if you're doing the powder, take your scoop or 2 scoops, put that in the water, mix it up, and drink it down. 8 ounces, 12 ounces of water, something in that range, and drink it down, you're good to go. And of course, if you're doing capsules, then you just take the number of capsules that you want to take, swallow it down with water. That's all you need. A note about capsules and powder, I take the powder because it's just, a little bit more affordable. But either one is just fine. Either one will work just fine. So the other thing that people like to do is to take NMN sublingually. And what that means is you're putting it under the tongue, letting it sit there and dissolve. It will absorb quicker in the bloodstream if you do it that way. And so a lot of people decide that's how they want to do it. Now, here's a pro tip. It's not coming from me, it's coming from someone who was watching one of my videos. So I am not trying to say that I'm a pro. I'm definitely not. I'm just a guy that's trying to figure this stuff out. Read a bunch of books and I'm trying this out on myself. So in that video, I talked about taking it sublingually and putting it in your mouth, and to be careful not to touch the spoon with your tongue or with your mouth, because you don't want to get moisture on that spoon and put it back in the container. So going along with storing it, what I've been doing is I just decided to start storing that spoon away from the container in a little plastic bag, so I can keep that spoon in a very controlled, very clean, very sterile way, rather than constantly putting it back in, taking it out and putting it back in the container. That's being a little bit, specific and particular. It may not be necessary, but when we talk about taking it sublingually, roundabout way of getting there, this guy said, the pro tip, take that spoon, scoop it out, the NMN, and put it in a different spoon. Take that spoon, put it in your mouth, under your tongue, and then you can put that, take that spoon and put it in the dishwasher or in the sink or something, whatever you do with it. And that way there's no risk of touching that scooper with your own, saliva and putting it back in the container. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'd love to have you along on the journey, and I'll see you next time.